Action Figures! Oi, 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 oi! Outback Action Figures! Oi, 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 oi!
G'day, how's it going? Welcome back to Outback Action Figures. Now, I apologise in advance, you can probably hear my voice, I'm a little bit sick at the moment, but I've been really excited to take a look at this guy, so I'm just going to try and push through, and we'll just see how we go. Anyway, so here we have, from Jada Toys, the Frosted Flakes Tony the Tiger mascot. Now, funnily enough, we never really had this actual brand, Frosted Flakes, here in Australia. It was essentially the same thing, but of course, typical Australian, we just shortened it to Frosties. So, yeah, it's not something that I'm hugely nostalgic for from my childhood, but as I've mentioned in some of my other videos before, Jada Toys just do such a really good job with some of these mascots. I've got the Chester Cheetah from Cheetos, and he's just really awesome. He's just a fun figure, great engineering with it, and just really cool poses and stuff. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll have a look at this one. Now, for the starters with the box, of course, it just looks like a cereal box, and it's very clear, you know, they've put action figure on the side here. And another really cool detail, they've got like the sort of nutritional information kind of set up on the side here, but it just says, you know, contains serving size 1 figure, 1/12 scale action figure, accessories, you know, cereal bowl 1, cereal box 1, basketball effect 1, hands 5. Authentic retro styling, collective quality paint, blah blah blah. So it's just cool, you know, just extra little care and detail they've put into the packaging here just to, you know, add that extra love, and yeah, it just looks cool. So another great shot on the back here, the figure, and of course his typical catchphrase, "They're great." Another cool shot on the side here, and what we get with this one is a little preview. So the flap opens, it's just held by a magnet in the top corner there, and here we go. You get a bit of a look at the figure. Now, he obviously, like it says on the side, he's got the cereal box, the basketball, a bunch of different hands, and the figure himself. But that's enough for the box. Let's actually crack this open and have a look. So, there we go, we get a proper look, got the figure there, and he does have, his little bandana is actually made of cloth, so that's a pretty cool little detail. And yeah, obviously the cereal box, the basketball, all the other bits. Let's get it all out and have a proper look. Alright, so here we go, we've got the figure out of the box and all of his accessories here. So we'll start off with this one. He has a replica of the Frosted Flakes box. Now this is, you know, just a little hollow piece of plastic with the sort of design printed on the front and back and sides. Just plain blue on the bottom there. But yeah, it does a pretty good job, you know, it just represents, obviously, the cereal that he is a mascot for. I don't know if we zoom right in on that, you might be able to read it. Wonder if that little QR code is actually scannable. Anyway, feel free to give that a try if you like. But yeah, so anyway, we'll move on. So he's got that, and the hand that comes on him straight out of the box, you know, you can put the box, well, the miniature replica box, you can put that in that hand. We'll have a look at the rest of the stuff. I'll have a go at that later. Anyway, he has this hand here with the spoon attached, and you can tilt that. You know, it moves in and out. You could possibly remove it from the hand, but I mean, I don't need to. I'll just leave it there. But yeah, you can change the angle whichever way it's tilting, and you can sort of move in and out. But yeah, it's got the cool little detail, the actual cereal on the spoon. Yeah, and cool paint on the hand as well. It's only really subtle, but it does have a slight little sort of highlight on the back. It's not just, you know, it's not just plain orange plastic. It does actually have a bit of paint on there. And obviously the white for the inside of his paw, I guess you could say. But yeah. Moving on, we have, you know, the big pointing finger. You know, typical of his sort of pose on the box where he's pointing up, just going, "They're great." But yeah, you get one of those. Again, really good paint job on here, and it's, again, very subtle, but yeah, you just have that orange plastic that it's, you know, cast in, and then that little sort of yellowish kind of highlight on the back, and then obviously the white paint on the inside again. It's the same on all the hands, so I won't bother going over the paint every time, but yeah, just to show you that. Now, it has a similar, same sort of finger, but with the little socket, well, the plug on the end, sorry. That is for, if we have a look here, the basketball. Now, that comes with a hole on the bottom, so you can plug the finger into that, and, you know, sort of looks like he's spinning it on his finger. And again, to go with that, it has this extra little spinning effect. Yeah, we sort of pop that on, and then stick it back onto the finger, and there we go. So that gives it that little bit of sort of motion, that sort of swirling effect. So yeah, just something really simple, but just cool little details I've added in here. Now, the one thing, it could have been nice to see a little bit of black paint, perhaps, just on the lines. They are sculpted into the basketball, but not actually painted, so that's just one little extra step might have, just been a bit of an upgrade for this. It still looks perfectly fine as is, but yeah, just that little extra touch might have been nice to see. Anyway, on to the next one. We've got the sort of open palm, and again, that has a little plug on there. I guess, well, technically you could put the basketball on that. So, he's just holding the ball in that hand, or you can have it like this, so he's about to bounce it. But I think mainly that is designed for the actual bowl, which that has a hole on the bottom as well. And again, that same cool detail, it's fairly simple. It's just all painted that same sort of yellowish brown. But yeah, obviously it does a good job of representing the cereal. But yeah, same thing, you just plug that in, and there we go. He can hold the bowl in his hand, and obviously you have the spoon in the other hand, so those work well together. And finally, he comes with a big thumbs up as well. Get that to focus in. Yeah, and again, great paint job. It just looks cool, and gives you plenty of options for different posing as well. You can have him thumbs up with a basketball, or thumbs up and pointing, or holding the cereal, whatever. Lots of different things you can do with him. So that's all the accessories here. Now let's take a look at the actual figure himself. Alright, so starting at the top here, we got, again, just really cool paint job on him, and just like I was saying with the hands, the body is also, not just cast in that plain orange plastic. It does have some cool little paint highlights on it here and there. It's very subtle, it's easy to miss, but it is actually there, and it just helps really sort of bring the character to life, so that's pretty cool. Now he's got his big blue nose here, the little whiskers sticking out as well. They're sort of, not exactly wire, but like a stiff, sort of thin plastic sticking out. They're a little bit pointy on the end, so, not sharp exactly, but yeah, if you get hold of this one as well, just careful you don't, poke yourself on that too hard. But yeah, nice little detail, the little reflection sort of shine on the eyes there as well. Nice, solid black paint on the ears, and the rest of, the eyebrows and all the other stripes along him as well. And as I mentioned before, this is actually a proper cloth bandana. That's all, actually tied on at the back there. So I won't be untying that to, to have a look at any of the joints or whatever. I'll just leave that on. They've already got it set up perfectly there, so I don't think it needs to change. Even has his name just printed on the side there, Tony. But yeah, looks pretty cool. Going along the back, we got the same sort of, orange with little highlights and the black stripes all along the tail here as well, along the legs and the feet. Nice clean paint job on the white section here. Just seeing, I can't spot any sort of paint splotches or any bits where it's missed. It all looks quite clean, which is really good. Considering the price point for these figures, I can't remember exactly, but I think I got this for about 40, 50 bucks, and you get great articulation, great range of accessories. The paint job is really clean, so I really can't fault them at all. The only thing I've been warned about from some other collectors is that because he's so top heavy, just these short little legs, he can apparently be a little bit tricky to pose sometimes. But I've done that so far just straight out of the box, standing straight up and down, have no issues. Now if you start getting a bit wild and lean him right back, it's that's a different story. But even then, you can sort of use his tail to prop him up, as you can see there. So I think, the stability of it is really the only minor downside that I can see. And even then, like I said, you can just use the tail as a bit of a stand. So yeah, I really can't see any problems with him at all so far, and I don't anticipate seeing any either. But yeah, really smooth joints there. I guess we'll get onto the articulation soon, and we'll have a proper look at those. But yeah, so far, like I said, I really just can't fault this at all. Cool details. Yeah, nice clean paint job. The fabric for the bandana here, it all just works together really well. We'll jump onto the articulation next and see how we can move. Alright, so starting with the head, we get not a huge amount, but he can lean back a bit. And again, just because the mouth, he doesn't come with an alternate head. That's one downside, I guess. I forgot to mention that before. But because he's got this permanent open smile, the bottom jaw just sort of runs into the chest there. Well, the chin runs into the chest, so you can't tilt his head down very far. If you're looking at it straight sort of side on there. But you get just the slightest little bit of tilt from side to side, and obviously you do get rotation. So, that's all fairly standard. It could be improved a little bit, perhaps by taking off the bandana, but like I said before, I'm just going to leave that on. It's already set up perfectly. I don't want to have to muck around with that. But yeah, he gets a decent amount of movement out of the head, as much as you need really for someone like this, I think. Now we got the shoulders. They come straight up, just pretty much at a 90-degree bend, maybe just the slightest bit higher. And then you get the bicep swivel here as well. Oh, the shoulder itself turns all the way around, of course. You get the double elbow joints here with no pins either, so it works quite well. Comes pretty much the whole way up. And then for the hands, most of them have the hinge that sort of swivels in and out. So like this hand for holding the cereal box, for example, just swivels in and out like that. And of course you can rotate it all the way around as well. And let's see, he should be able to just swing the whole way around. Yep. Alright, so we have an upper torso joint here, which gets a fairly good lean back. You can crunch forward a decent amount there. And that gets you a bit of side-to-side swivel as well. And again, this is just super smooth. There's no sort of hindrance in that at all. Gets a whole sort of hula hoop action there. And then at the lower torso here, at the waist, you get another similar sort of joint. And if you add those together, he can basically lean all the way back. And then crunch pretty much the whole way forward as well. And again, more sort of side-to-side tilt. But yeah, great range of motion. You also do get rotation there, of course, and rotation on the top joint. So yeah, there's really no hindrance at all in what you can do with the main body movement. And for the legs, like I was saying, they are a little short, but you still get decent range out of those. So he can kick forward, basically up to 90 degrees. He can go back just about the whole way as well. And if we look from side on, he goes, yeah, basically straight out to the side as well. So if we do both legs, yeah, you can do a split straight out to the side, better than some Spider-Man figures. And yeah, on the back we've got the tail is on a up and down swivel, but that can also rotate any direction you like. So you can have it facing out the side, you can have it up, down, whichever way you like. And so back to the legs for a sec. We've got just single joints for the knees. But they do come up, you know, about a 90-degree bend, and there's a bit of a swivel on that joint as well, so that can rotate all the way around. So then when you have it bent, you know, it can swivel from side to side. And with the feet, let's see, they can bend back pretty much the whole way, and then they come up. They come up quite a decent amount as well. So with all that combined, yeah, I think really, you know, especially in the torso here, you get a huge range. The arms are quite decent. The legs, you know, a little bit short, but otherwise, yeah, I think you really get quite a good range out of him. Yeah, the only minor downside, I guess, like I was saying, just because he is very top heavy, it can be a little tricky to get him, you know, like, it's not really that difficult at all. It's just something to be wary of when you are posing him. Just, you know, sort of make sure you've got the feet balanced, and you can use the tail for a little extra stability, like I mentioned earlier, but I think most of the time you don't even need it. You know, you can have it sticking out to the side like this, and he still stands up perfectly fine. There we go. So, yeah, all in all, generally quite happy with this. Now, like I said, I don't really have any huge, strong sort of nostalgic connection to this property. You know, the Frosted Flakes, you know, I don't really have any connection to Kellogg's or anything like that. But he's just a really cool, just fun figure. For me personally, I've just always been a fan of cats. I know tigers are slightly different, but, you know, they're in the cat family. I'm not into sport myself, but we have, you know, obviously in Australia here in the AFL, there's the Richmond Tigers, and I know a lot of family members are Tigers fans, so this is a slightly nostalgic connection there, I suppose. But yeah, just in general, I think he's just a cool looking figure. Jada Toys have done a really great job with this and all their other sort of mascots they've done. I'll get the Chester Cheetah in a second. We'll do a side-by-side comparison with these two. In general, yeah, I'm quite happy with this. We'll test out a few of the little accessories here. We'll do, you know, some of the different looks, different poses and stuff we can do with him. But yeah, for now, sort of main impression is very positive. I'll give this a big thumbs up for this one. So here we can see a perfect example of what I was saying before. This is the other Jada Toys food mascot that I've got, the Chester Cheetah. Again, as I mentioned in my, I think the very first video, my sort of introduction on the channel, this is one of the things I featured on that. And just such a cool little detail, he's got like the actual little orange Cheeto dust on his fingers here. But anyway, yeah, he comes with like an actual Cheeto that he's holding onto. So we've got here, you know, Tony the Tiger holding these Frosted Flakes box. doing the big thumbs up on his other side. Whoops. Yeah. Yeah, so we've got Frosted Flakes and the big thumbs up, and, you know, Chester with his, you know, holding the big Cheeto. And yeah, I just think, once again, these are just really fun. Jada Toys have just smashed it out of the park with these. I think they do an awesome job. They look fantastic. They pose really well. The joints are super smooth. They've got great accessories. And once again, like I said before, as a fan of cats, I know cheetahs and tigers are big cats, not your typical sort of pet ones. But yeah, I love these. I think they're just really fun. It's not something I ever expected. You know, when I first got into figure collecting, I was mostly just Marvel and, you know, superheroes, that kind of thing. But then once I saw these come along, I was like, you know what? Let's give them a go. They just look like fun, and they are. They're just awesome. So we'll test out a couple of other little accessories, and then we'll be just about ready to wrap this up. Alright, here's a little one I just sort of did for fun. Kind of looks like he's jumping up, you know, ready to like slam dunk the ball. I know this hand, I think, is really more designed to hold the bowl, not the actual basketball, but I still think, you know, it looks pretty cool. You can do some fun little poses like this. So yeah, just thought I'd give it a go. It's a little bit of a shame he doesn't have more options for his, well, it's on the left, but his right hand. He's got the thumbs up, or like the cereal holding hand, or the one that holds a spoon, and that's kind of it. He does have, you know, a fist for his other hand that came already in the package. But yeah, so anyway, I just thought, oh, we'll give him just the pointer finger here and then the big slam dunk. But yeah, it's just, again, just more little fun options you can do. And I have got the tail there supporting him a little bit, just because he's kind of leaning up a bit. But yeah, honestly, it works out fine. You can have him doing all kinds of silly little poses like this, and yeah, it's just fun. I think that's probably just going to be the word of the day for this review, is fun. And that's all what it comes down to when it comes to this sort of figure. Now we'll try out one more last little set of accessories, and then we'll be time to finish it up. Alright, here we go. So I had to do at least one of the sort of iconic, you know, holding the cereal bowl poses. And so, as you can see, I've got the tail off to the side. There's no support necessary there. He's able to stand up perfectly fine. Just takes the tiniest bit of work, and you can get him to stand perfectly fine. There's really not much effort involved at all. But yeah, as we can see here, we've got obviously the big bowl, the big spoon, and all the cereal there. He's looking pretty excited. Yeah, honestly, I know I keep saying it, but this really is just a fun figure. You can do all kinds of stuff, and yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to play around with, and it just looks cool. So, just a quick sort of summary. Cool paint job, nice clean details on it, decent range of accessories. He could have done with maybe one or two extra hands, just for a little bit more variety, and maybe one alternate head, because you are slightly limited just with this one facial expression that we've got here. It's still, you know, it's the big open smile. Like I said before, he looks excited, looks like he's having fun, so it's not bad at all, but it could have been nice just to see a little bit of variety with a different expression. Otherwise, I'm quite happy with this. Just a cool figure. I've loved everything I've got so far from Jada Toys. They've been doing a really good job. Their Street Fighter line is fantastic. These mascots, yeah, they're just a lot of fun. I already had the Chester, so I figured why not grab another big cat figure. So yeah, last thing, just to wrap it all up, I'll do a couple of size comparisons with some of the other major lines like Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe, stuff like that, just to get a rough idea of how he'll pair up with those. Alright, so here he is with Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classified, both from Hasbro. So he lines up pretty well, as you can see, against those two. And finally, here we have with the Jada Toys Street Fighter and then the Marfax Batman Hush line. So again, he fits in pretty much perfectly in scale with just about any toy line you've got. If it's in, you know, your basically 1/12 scale, 6-inch size, yeah, he'll fit in perfectly. You know, because he is like a mascot, not exactly a real or sort of human character, he can basically fudge into any line, really. So, you know, this is just to give you an example of how he measures up. If you've got some of these other lines, you can get an idea of how he looks next to them. But yeah, honestly, I think if he's on his own, if he's next to other stuff, I think really you can just fit him in wherever you like. Alright, so we'll get those out of the way. And yeah, just to wrap things up, I know I've mentioned before, but it's just a really fun figure. I'm really happy with this. He could have done with a couple of tiny upgrades, the sort of black lines on the basketball if they had been painted. Yeah, maybe a couple of other little accessories, maybe an extra head. But otherwise, he's great for what you get. Yeah, honestly, pun not intended. Didn't mean the joke there. He's great. But yeah, really happy with him. And I think if anyone out there is looking to grab one of these as well, I would recommend it. You can't go wrong, really. He's an awesome figure. All right. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully the voice didn't sound too bad with being sick at the moment. We powered through, got through to the end, and hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks again, and stick around, we'll have plenty more coming up. Alright, cheers guys, thanks again, catch you next time. See ya!